Uh, I believe we are live, and we just flew into Monday again from Thursday. It's
Oh,
incredible warp
I
speed.
cannot believe it's Monday again, Mr. William. How did we get here this fast?
I even slowing down and going out there to our cabin with my son and spending 3 days and not really do anything but just be present and enjoy time with him and my uncle. It goes by so quick. And then here I am. I'm just pulling in, unpacking, and then boom, I'm coming to this YouTube live, and I was like, yikes! It's already Monday. We're back on the roll again. But
I mean, we just said too on Thursday that we
we
would be
did.
here very quickly. Monday would be rolling in, and guess what? It rolled right in.
We
So,
say these things to make everybody realize that you're running a road, and if you're not making space for your life, then you're just running busyness, and time
that's
gets
right.
away.
That's
And no
right.
matter what you have in your life, things, possessions, you only have a finite amount of time. And as you go down further the road, you realize that you're getting closer to the end, to the destination where we're all going to go, and you get real time intimate. And so we start becoming very present. At least I am learning to become very more present than I ever have in my life, because I realize that I'm in a timeline now that I'm almost anchored to the last of it before we go, and the next generation comes up. And it deserves a spot in importance in order to transfer what you know, your wisdom, your family, your traditions, and things that really matter to the people that you love. And if you don't, if you're working all the time and you're running around just being busy, then you're actually losing your time. And it's an equity investment that God gave you. You want infusion of it. So it reminds me of the talent. How do you invest your time?
That is a great conversation that we are going to dive into tonight. So, welcome back, everyone, to Mindful Nuggets. My name is Michelle Rawls. You were just listening to my co host, Mr. William Goodwin, and we're going to dive
Greetings.
into a deep conversation tonight. Mr. Goodwin has put together quite the conversation. So, we are
Well,
going
you got quite a bit to talk about too, young lady.
we do have a lot to talk about because there's been a lot that has happened in the past, few days for sure. So tonight we're going to talk about created by the word and defined by words. And we have been talking about this probably all year. We've been talking about the word all year. He's the word, right?
Well,
Um,
different angles and approaches, but the thing is, there we were talking about time just a second ago. Now we're talking about defined by the words.
yeah,
How you're defined by words also impacts the time and how you
absolutely.
invest or you use time. So you'll understand as we go along in this conversation. But if we go back to John 1, and in the beginning was the Word, meaning God, Jesus. In the beginning, He was there before we were, and He was with God. That separates the two identities, same character, same God, but two different spatial relationships. Okay,
Hmm.
two entities. And the Word was God. Okay, so
So,
because
I
of that,
mean,
go ahead.
no, I'm trying to, start at the beginning, right?
That
Because
is the beginning.
absolutely. I mean, let's go to the world of today beginning. But you're absolutely right. The word is God, was God,
Yeah,
all
nothing
of
was
it
created that wasn't created
created.
by
Yeah,
Him.
absolutely.
And
But
so,
let's go into the world of how, words actually
mhm.
they shape us, they mold us.
Okay, yeah, from His word
Let's
to what we understand words
Right.
to be, or
Right.
we
Let's
make
go
it
to that.
allow words to define us. So, if, right. So the moment you pop into this world, well, you're getting language.
Yeah. You're
And
being
you're getting
spoken to.
you're getting that's
Right.
language.
Goo goo gaga. There's your very beginning. So,
So means no. That means a pause, interrupt. You're not supposed to danger. Will Robinson danger,
right.
or just somebody it's just you because you're just getting and a lot of people do. But before we fully
We
understand
might
what
want to
people
move
are,
on.
yeah, but fully we understand who we are. But people are already telling us who we are, sometimes intentionally. sometimes carelessly, sometimes lovingly, sometimes from their own wounds.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And,
Yeah. A
even a
parent.
parent would
Yeah.
say, I've been, called this myself. You've been a very difficult one on it. And I can be very trying, and I have been, and I still am
I
on
can
it.
be a very
But,
difficult one. I think I've heard that many times. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that's my identity. But when we say, yeah, I'm a difficult one, well, all of a sudden it starts becoming my identity because I believe it is.
Well, it's being said repeatedly. I mean, you hear it once, you will let it go. Most of the time, you'll let that go unless it really,
Unless it's
really
repeated
resonates with you.
over and
Yeah.
over
And
and
but the
over
more,
again.
yeah. But the
And then
more
all of a
it's
sudden
said,
you're saying it. Then all of a sudden, when you're saying it, because when you say it, your brain is accepting that as evidence that you are that. And that's when your
absolutely.
identity is formed by that definition of the word that they're using. Sometimes when they speak words, they're not sure of the definition of that word either, whether it's in authority of God or not on it. But like the coach would say, you're not applying yourself. You're not going at it hard enough,
No, you're not talented enough.
or anything like that. Yeah,
You start to believe
Rela-
those things.
yeah. Well, in a relationship ends, you say, well, I'm glad that's ended. You're not worth it. That's really heavy. That's very
That's
damaging to your
that's heavy,
identity.
yeah.
And when you're not worth it, and you hear that all the time, you're just a problem. You're just an irritation. You're not worth anything. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this throughout their life. And so that word becomes your label because humans love labels. They love putting people in buckets with a label on it
Yep.
because that's what they see in that point in time of you, only just part of you, but that becomes your identity to them.
Well, it becomes your identity because you've heard it so much or it's been
Mm-hmm.
said, out. I mean, I've had people come up to me and say, I know I'm a lot. Well, who told you that? I just had that happen not too long ago. Well, I
You're a
know I'm
lot.
a lot. Who, I just had to ask, who told you that? I mean, what is a lot?
I
What
don't
does that
know.
mean?
That's what I was going to ask. What is a lot? You're a lot of loving, a lot of,
And
what?
in this person's way of a lot, meaning that I know that I am in a sense over the top many times. I maybe go a little too far over here or over there. That was the sense of what they had taken a lot to mean. So we had to have quite the conversation wrapped around that because this person truly identifies
Right.
as
And
I'm
so,
a lot and brings that forward in the conversation.
but here's an important part. Do you agree to that?
Yeah,
You see,
yeah.
this is what we start making a contract with our labels ourselves. Is do we agree to that? Once we agree to that, that's when your identity starts assuming that. And then
Hmm.
guess what happens from your identity? You believe that. Well, your behavior starts to align with your identity, and then your outcome aligns with your behavior, good or not good, and you create a life around you based off what you believe you are. And you may not like that, but the good news is you can change it. It's going to take some work, but you can definitely change it.
You have to change the mindset first
Well,
and
we get
understand who you truly are within your own
well,
authenticity.
that's right. We got to strip it all back to who you are. So, who told you who you are, or who did you allow
Right.
to
Who did
tell
you
you who
allow?
you
I
are?
like that one. Who did you allow? That makes more sense to me.
All right, and the only one person entity in this entire universe that has the right to tell you who you are is the one that made you. Period. Because he knows you. He knew he built you for a reason. He built you for a relationship. He built you for a purpose. Once you have that relationship, you'll learn your purpose. But he's the only one that can tell you who you are.
He is the great I am.
That's right. And that's how come we say, I am William. Guess what? I'm acknowledging God the Father. And William, I am with the will of God, I am.
How does that work
But
with Michelle? I'm just curious.
you'll have to do a little research on that. I didn't come prepared for that one. But the thing is say when you're saying I'm tired, I'm saying I'm defeated, or I am successful. Well, you're still evoking God into the equation whether you believe Him or not.
Right.
But you're also believing I am because that's aligning to the person you are in creation. And so when you evoke the words I am, it has authority.
Yes,
Not
it
that my
does.
body's tired, not that, I struggled this time on this project. It didn't work the way I wanted it. But when I start saying I'm a failure, I'm a problem, I'm hard to get along with, I am part of your identity. You're evoking the word, saying I am, and this is what I am being. Does
Yeah.
that make
So right
sense?
now you need to ask yourself who told you who you are and why do you believe what they tell you? That's a great question
So
because you are who God says you
resonate
are.
on that. Why don't you write it down? Who do you believe you are?
Oh, that's a good one.
Not
Yeah,
your
write it
role.
down.
Yeah, not your role in life. Not a mother, not a father, not an engineer, not a doctor, not a therapist, none of that. None of that. Who are you? And write that down and work on that until you get stripped to the fact that you are a person created by God and you have these wonderful traits about you and these values about you and the things that you love.
All right. Well,
That's
I
when you
know who
start,
I am. So who are you? I am a loving, authentic, powerful woman. Who are you?
other than being defiant sometimes.
I'm very defiant.
But I'm a very a loving, faithful leader, and I enjoy freedom, and I enjoy the word, and I enjoy God. I love God. All right, so I stand for faith and freedom on it.
Absolutely.
But but I'm not. See, the things that we're saying there is a person that is being who they are, not a role,
Right.
and not a thing, and not somebody else told us what that is. You
We
know,
defined who we
so
were.
I'm a confident, faithful, loving leader. All right, or a loving person, or anything like that. Who enjoys flying? Who enjoys going out, spending time with his family? Who likes selling? Who likes looking at the stars? Who loves talking to God? That's who I am.
I love looking at the stars and talking to God.
Mhm.
That's my favorite peaceful time,
Well, you
and
throw
I'll
him
do
out there
that at
for us to
night.
enjoy.
Yeah.
That's what he told Abram,
Yeah.
and his promise held because he told Abram that one day that there will be as many people as there are stars. Now,
Oh,
well, guess what? There's quite a few people on this planet now.
right. I was gonna say, do we have
So,
enough stars?
so,
Okay.
so really, the words that you use are the most critical thing that you can spend your time investing in and breaking down how you speak. Because what you
Okay.
speak is what you believe.
Oh,
Faith comes
absolutely.
faith comes by hearing, hearing of the
100%.
word. And when you speak a word, you don't start believing that word, and you have faith in that word, but that faith not be rooted in God. And so that's an anchor we need to check and see if it's holding you back from the life that He built you to live. All right. Let's go back into Genesis. What he created everything. He spoke it into existence. Jesus. Okay. Now we're talking about John 1. He is the Word. All right. Not was, he still is. Okay. But because he is the Word, he can speak it into existence. And Genesis does that in Genesis 1:3. And God said, let there be light. There was light. Something that was not created, not visible, that wasn't present, but God knew, saw, and exactly what he wanted and spoke it into existence. Tell me that doesn't work today when you're creating something that your heart's really set on making or receiving or building. That person you want to go and have a relationship with that you want so badly. You see that first in a vision, and then you start speaking about it. Tell me I'm wrong.
I
What's
can't do
on your
that. I
heart?
can't tell
What's
you.
on
I
your
was gonna
heart
say
is what you
whatever's in
believe.
your heart and whatever you speak out, it's going to come back.
Okay. No, so
Okay,
so when
so if
so
I'm in my word, with my Heavenly Father, which I am many times throughout the day, we just had this conversation before we came on the air. Um, I've seen it firsthand. What you speak out there is what comes back to you. So be very
yes,
mindful, that He created the word. We've chosen to have a relationship or not have a relationship. And I promise you, even if you don't have that relationship, He's tugging on you. And what you're speaking, you're seeing come back to you. So you might want to speak a little differently, is what I'm saying, and get in that relationship because the word that you put out, if you're not paying attention, it has come back to you and you just haven't sat and thought about what it actually did and what actually occurred. And you can call it whatever you want to call it, but the bottom line is it's God. He was the one.
Well, I mean, it's so important that, we hear words all the time. We hear it from our teachers, our parents, uh, our peers, children speaking to us. And then we go through experiencing, failures, traumas. We experience, social media judgment is a big
Oh
one
boy,
today.
that's a big one.
Mhm.
Social media.
And your own internal voice.
Yeah.
There's three voices going on. One's yours, one's God's, and the other is Satan's. When you got to learn how to discern in between what is of God and what is not. That's why Paul says capture every thought. And does it exalt God, or if it doesn't exalt God, if it doesn't, you need to discard. And that's a discipline that takes a lot of practice. But when a thought comes in, who is speaking? And what
Mm.
are those thoughts saying to you? And are they the truth? Are they true? Or are they false? But we don't give much thought to what our thoughts are because we receive that too is before we even speak it. If it wasn't there here, it wouldn't come out here. It has to
Oh,
trigger there first.
I'm gonna say you just brought up a great, let me see if I can find it here. So yeah, so neuroscientists tells us that 95% of our thoughts are controlled by our pre-programmed subconscious mind.
90%, yeah, is rule of thumb. But it's a hard drive and it records, and
Oh,
that's the information,
absolutely.
and it's information that's inputted. Okay, here's another thing. What is input is amplified. All right, but it also has a feedback circuit. That's why I'm saying when you speak the word, faith comes by hearing, hear the word, that's feedback. All right, so what is input? It's what you receive as a signal. What's the output? Your version of that received signal. And what's the feedback? It's the information coming back, reiterating the belief of what that input is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But if when the output is not what your life was supposed to be or intended to be, or it's chaos and it's stressed and it's not aligned, having any fruit, then you better check two things. First, the input of what you're receiving, and then the feedback that's coming back and how you're applying the word.
Okay, you'll love this one. Let's talk about this one then. Scientists now know that the brain receives 400 billion bits of information each second.
Each second. But we're only limited to several hundred bytes of information because we filter all that out. And then that becomes your
2000.
filter. This is the feedback circuit that you're
It
talking
is
about.
the
I'm
feedback,
talking
right?
about.
Right.
Okay, because it becomes a filtering system allowing the interpretation of the input as it comes out through the output back in. All right. So this is some things we discard, some things are distorted, some things it's perspective, some things are true. But the thing is, you can only receive so many packets of information to interpret when you're bombarded by millions.
On
All right.
average, 2000, as it's put, 2000 measly bits of information is all we're actually able
We've
to.
increased our capacity because before it was around a few hundred bits, but in proportion, there's way more information. You go down a road, and then you've got trees, power lines, the environment, buildings, cars, street, all those things. You recognize the condition of the road, what color were the leaves, what types of the trees they were, how many power lines was a cell tower, how many businesses. No, you don't.
Hmm.
You only focus on what your intent is, and that's
Oh,
the
that's just
information
it.
that you're.
You only
Yeah.
focus on what you, so if you say say I buy a red Camaro and I think I've got the only red Camaro, right?
Mhm.
Next thing you know, what am I seeing all throughout as I drive? Red Camaros. So you only
Not blue
see,
Pintos.
right? Those little Pinto cars were good, by the way.
Yeah, they were. They ran forever.
Nobody else is any younger than us is going to know what a Pinto car is. So,
nor a gremlin. But,
Oh, yeah, my aunt had a gremlin, and I love that car too.
but anyway, but you're right. So whatever you set your mind
Mm-hmm.
to, all right, is what you're going to be looking for and receiving information.
Absolutely.
Whoever you want to be around is your input too, because that's feeding information to you, and then you're
And their
outputting
words
that.
affect you.
Yeah. And so you got, I mean, it's a simple amplifier circuit to me. You got a feedback in the filter system, it comes back, allows the information in your perception. So in an event, and now this is a little bit off path what we're talking about, but the words in the event create the picture.
Mm-hmm.
The event is the frame. It happened. If we put several people at the event, more than likely there will be some variations or so widely variations of that event. And the colors that are in the side of that frame is your take, your perspective on that event. And it all has to deal with your feedback of what your filter set of how you receive that information and how you interpret that information. And believe it or not, you can see one event and then you can speak it one way and then you change it the way you speak another way, one negative, one positive, reinvent that same event, but speak it differently. You create a different picture within that same frame. Does that make sense?
Does to me. I don't know if it is making sense to our viewers. I hope it is.
So
They're
if I,
getting those
if I
comments and
would,
ask us.
as an event, so something traumatic happened to me, and it caused me to believe something about myself that I wasn't worth it. Okay, I'm just giving an example, and just kind of something like happened to me. So I go through decades believing that I was not impactful, I was not effective, and I wasn't worth it. Yet decades later, I re-speak over that event and speak it differently in a positive light because I was there. It did make a difference. I just didn't see it at the time, but it changed the course after the event. So all of a sudden now I am worth it, and that did matter. But it's how I framed it the first time is what I believe, because hearing comes, faith comes by hearing of the word, and I believed that about myself for decades, and I lived a life of an output that did not align, and it was like fighting a ghost. It was nothing ever worked out, but it was because I allowed an input, and I believed from the filter set, the feedback, that this output was the way it is. But yet I changed my words. Ours is a bunch of noise and distortion and chaos because it can't handle it. It puts it against the rails. It draws more current, and then all of a sudden, next thing, you're burnt out. Especially without feedback circuit, it just goes wide open and you burn out. So it's very simple things like that, simple adjustments, but everything comes back down to the word. How do you speak the word? And do you believe the word? So first you got to be in alignment with the word that God created. But you got to remember He gave us the words. He spoke it into existence. Now we've mutilated a lot of words.
Oh, we're good at that.
We let them drift. We give them different meanings, and all of a sudden the words are impotent. They have no authority over your life. But once you come back to God and understand the root of the word and speak it in Jesus' name, well, guess what? Your life changes because it is now under His authority, under His strength, under His power, not yours, or not the world's. I
But
think that's about
again,
as simple as I can put it.
not everybody believes that way, and that's why we're here, so that we can, have people really stop for just 2 seconds and listen to what we're saying. What you speak about yourself or what you listen to about what people say about you. Social media is a great reminder that we are so far removed from our relationship with God, because we really dive in to those conversations that are being had about us or to us in some respect on social media. I mean, let's just be really open in today's world as to what's going on. And
Yeah,
that
there's
is removing us.
it
We're putting
is.
labels on ourselves,
It's
and
a lot of
we're removing ourselves from
there's no boundaries on there.
absolutely
Yeah, and
100%. Yeah.
and the fact that people say and they're very vulnerable out there, and then it's then the vulnerability is usually attacked because that's what that society normally does and always has been. That's that live in sin. They look at the negative and then they take advantage of it, or they aim to hurt, or you should never be that way. You never should have done that, and they judge.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
in fact, they didn't live the life. They only see that little glimpse again in history of that person at that moment and don't know the whole story, yet snapping judgments about that person on that 1 second of their life. We're quick to do that, and that's very harmful. And it's not a right to ever judge. But the thing is, the words that you're using when that happens are words like darts. You know, you can break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Well, that's a farce. Words do a lot more damage. In fact, they created the phones to begin with.
Mm.
So, so the words that you use,
So basically the world trains us.
it does. And exactly. And how's the world trained you, though, is a bigger question. What was the expectation of the world? What's the expectation of God? Now I'm talking about the operating systems a little bit here, but what what does the world expect?
Well,
What does it
the
create?
world expects you to conform to what the world wants, but God
Well,
is asking
that's
you
exactly how
to,
Paul puts it.
right.
Don't conform to it. But the world wants you to perform. The world wants to get every ounce of juice out of you, and it could care less about you. It uses. It wants the best out of you. It wants you to work those extra hours. It wants you to be away from home, be away from your family. But it becomes the thing is like becomes fear is responsibility. That's a word confusion. Anxiety is performance. Anxiety is it's a priority to people because I'm anxious. It means I'm getting my priorities in order. It's putting tension, and that's not what anxiety is. See, that's what I'm saying. The world will how what's the word for it? Confuse the real
Yeah, I was
meaning
gonna
of the
say
word.
confuse is a good way to say
Yeah,
that.
it confuses the word into
Yeah.
a different meaning, and you believe that meaning, and you accept it, and all of a sudden you're doing something out of alignment from the word that shouldn't happen, and that's why it's costing you, me, everybody, and it will suck you dry. God's word doesn't do that. God's word sometimes will test, but
Well, God's word will test you.
God's words will bring peace and order in your life, and that's how you can tell.
Well, let me kind of clarify that. He will test you. But if you
Yeah,
have that relationship with him, there's a peace that comes over you during that test.
if you're aligned with
You
him,
won't
you
be
realize
in
that
fear, right? Because you know he is right there. He's in your presence at that moment. There's
well,
a real
it's a
peace that comes upon
it,
you.
it's a very simple thing. If you're ready to handle something small and you do it well and you do it in faith, and that he will also increase that to more responsibility and also more to share with you. If we go back to the talents one more time, I keep going back there because it's so important. And talents is he gave 5 talents to one, two to the other, one to the last one.
Right.
The first two multiplied, doubled it when he came back. Now that the talent, if you could imagine that talent is one, I believe it's 20 years worth of wages. So it's not a small amount of money. When we see here talents, we think 5 talents, we think a small number. It's huge. So this is a big responsibility that the owner is transferring to these people. First two go out and double it. Well done. All right. The last one, you wicked, you wicked servant. And the thing is that that servant says, well, I know my master's heart. All right. This is why I'm talking about words here too, is that's not the heart of God. But that was the belief of that other fellow. They only had one, so he buried it. He didn't know the master was a good master and he would share in the happiness and joy of the increase. He thought if he took a risk, he would be beaten and scorned. And that's more the world's way. He's showing us exactly how the world works. We go out there, we bury our treasures because we're afraid to shine. And we speak of it that way. And that's not the heart of God. He didn't create you that way. But when you go out and you abide in him and through his expectations, well, guess what? It increases. You get to share in his happiness. These words are the creation of that. And so that's why it's so important that we understand how we speak, and then if we align or we don't align. And we got to learn, what does that word really mean? And what's the heart of it? What's the heart of that word? You know, do you have confidence in yourself? Do you have confidence that God's going to be there with you? What's the heart of that word?
I always have confidence that God is right next to me and
okay, well, that's the word that God gave you. He expects you to be confident, but he expects you to trust, which is the root of that. If you trust in him, the confidence comes.
During the relationship, though, of my process in the relationship with him, he's asked me many times to have patience. And if you listen to that, he does tell you to be patient. Because it's a building of a relationship. He knows your heart, and he already knows what the outcome is, right? We don't know what the outcome is. We don't know what
not supposed to.
Right. But in that relationship with him, he tells you who you are. He speaks that to you. And you start showing up that way. Believe it or not, you start showing up the way that he speaks that you are his daughter or his son, and this is the way he has brought you to be.
And she's speaking that with confidence, if you notice.
It's just when you have that relationship and you watch him work and you watch him see, if you're not paying attention to your world today, what you're calling yourself is not what he calls you.
Exactly. Well, God definitely doesn't go around saying you're not enough.
No.
You're late all the time. You have to be strong.
You're a failure.
You suck it up. You're a failure. Yeah. You're not any of those. That's not of God. I promise you, it's never was, never will be. But where are those words coming from?
The way of the world.
Mm-hmm.
The way of the world.
Because that's the way you've been told and programmed.
Right. Yep.
Now, knowing that, okay, if there's an audience out there, I've asked you to raise your hand. How many times have you said, I'm not enough? I failed.
Many times before I learned actually to change my mindset. Took me about 50 years, but I've accomplished that now.
I have to carry it all. I'm responsible for it. I take responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Wait, did I just hear a man say I take responsibility? Okay.
Well,
all right.
Well, that's also a misconception there, because responsibility is a prelude to the action.
Right.
Are you going to be responsible for this? The accountability is the measurement after the action occurs. To take responsibility, it's got the the cart before the horse, because the action already happened, and now I'm going to be responsible for the mess. And that's the way the world teaches you, because now it becomes a punishment. I take responsibility because it's my fault, their fault, whatever it is. That's not what responsibility is about. And that's what I'm saying. The word to be responsible. So I want to stewardship what is given to me, whether it's from him, which is always from him, okay, or from the employer, or back in the day, the master or the owners or whatever. But the thing is, I'm going to trust you to be responsible for this while I'm away. And when I come back, we'll have an accounting of how this went. That's what all that supposed to be. And that goes into talents again. Talents tell so much in that verse about a way of being to each other, to God, and the outcome and the actions taken in between.
Right.
Not take responsibility. It's not something you pull off a shelf after you knock all the glass off and bust all over the floor.
Oh, come on. That's taking responsibility. So,
That's being accountable for your mess.
right.
Yeah.
Boy, I hope everybody's getting a lesson tonight in these beautiful nuggets that we are handing out here at Mindful Nuggets tonight. We have definitely been tapping into the word. Who is it that says that to you that you believe you are? Well, you say those things. You let the world tell you that you're a failure or you can't. And believe me, if you say you can't, this is my favorite one. I tell my grandchildren this all the time. Well, if you say you can't, guess what? You can't because you believe it. You told yourself that. So, how about we change that mindset and we
Yeah,
walk into a different behavior with that?
it's there's points of life that you're in. Sometimes it's a survival mode, really a survival mode. But the problem is we stay in survival mode because you're taught to stay in survival mode. It's reinforced to stay in survival mode. When there's a time you need to come out of that and become more than just a survival, you become a person that can be what's the word for it, Michelle? I'm struggling today. I guess
Instead of struggling, you want to thrive, you
Thank
want
you. That's what I was
to
looking for. You want to be able to thrive,
you
and
want to
you
be
want
able
to
to
be able
thrive and
to,
not just
but you
survive.
can't. You can't be in survival and thrive. It's impossible. They're not in the same room on it.
No.
And when you recognize that program is still running and these words are still occurring, you're still feeding the input going back through the circuit, and the output has not changed. For example, you may have had to buckle down and work a couple of jobs, and it's taking time. Well, things evolved and things are better, but yet you're still conditioned to still work those couple of jobs, but you don't need to. You need to shift into creating something else in your life. It could be more in the relationship with your children, or it could be with parents or a loved one on it. Things are in seasons, and that's that reason for a purpose. But I know I got stuck in survival mode, being this operator. And this is what the world likes you to teach you: is to be an operator and to perform. You get stuck in that, well, you get lost in that, and that becomes your identity, and you're always stuck in that survival mode. And you got to learn that that isn't always necessary. Sometimes it is. Okay, I get it, but a lot of times you need to be able to switch out of that mode. But if you can't be aware of it, you're still speaking it into existence from your words when you should be producing fruit and being at peace and being able to sit still for a moment, not on the battlefield all the time.
Oh, who can sit still these days? I'm really curious. Who can really sit?
Well, be
You can
still
sit
and
still and be
listen.
in peace and be with your own mind and talk to yourself in a positive way.
There are a lot of us afraid to even do that
Right.
because we're afraid to face something.
Exactly.
Because that's not part of our identity anymore. We don't want to face what could be or what was, depending on if you're living in your story or you're phasing into something else you're not comfortable with or aware, or no, you're not, don't know the outcome of what's going to happen. But
Ooh, living in your story. We need to do that next week. Living in your story.
we could
What
do that.
story are you telling yourself?
Well, that's part of your identity is the story that you live in. You live in the past, well, you're living in regret and remorse. If you're living in the future, you're probably living in anxiety. If you're living present, that's where you should be.
But this all comes back to how you speak upon yourself
Is
or what you listen
it
to.
always everything comes back to
It
how you
all
speak.
comes back to the word because what you tell yourself is the story you believe. So you believe you're a failure? Great. You told yourself that story. You believe that story. So now you're walking out here and everything you touch when it fails, you go, well, yeah, I've been told, that I'm a failure because you continuously tell yourself that story.
And stories can be very deadly. Okay. A story is created. We're supposed to learn from the story. We're not supposed to stay in the room with the story for the rest of our life.
Absolutely.
How can you make a new story if you're still in that same story? I always get stuck there, and we don't know that. Success can do just the opposite. It can change us in such a way that, your title, your ego, you're looking to accolades, look at the thriving business, your reputation. Well, one day that might just go away. Then who are you?
Well,
But
the
that
leader of you leading beyond says, become a victor.
well, the victorious is living that is a living way because it's already finished. Getting ready to go there, by the way. Thanks for that. Because it's already been finished. But the thing is, our identity is speaking into different things. So, you can be one way trapped in striving. You can be successful and trapped in the accolades of the things that you believe you are, the
Mm-hmm.
title, the ego. And all of a sudden, what happens at Transcat? You got this beautiful job. You're making $250,000, $400,000 a year. Get this nice big house. You're speaking over how I did it. It's all mine.
Ooh, I like
We
this one.
worked
I
hard.
did it. It's all mine. I did
Yeah.
that.
So,
I made that
see what I
happen.
did. And all of a sudden, or, you can still be gracious about it and say, thank God I've got all this, but some streams dry up. Then what? How do you speak? Who are you then?
Okay, but I want to go back to the part where we said, I did it.
Mm-hmm. That's
I
pride.
did it. I made that happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. But you didn't actually make it happen. It was already pre-written, and it was God who saw to it that you received it because he knew something was, either in your heart or it was of something you spoke, right? But
Right.
then again, let's not forget, he can take it away.
Mm-hmm.
When
Or
you're not
technology shifts and it goes away. Anything that
absolutely.
happens, the corporation shuts down, the business makes a turn, pivots, and you're not ready for it, and whatever, but it goes away. The question you need to ask is, how do you speak? Did you speak it because I am? I did. And all that is pointing to the glory of you and taking away from the glory of God. And when that goes away, then what? How do you speak? Misery, regret, remorse. Now what I do, fear.
Oh, fear. Fear
Yeah.
really comes into play whenever
Okay.
we
All
don't
right.
make
So your
things.
security blanket just got pulled out from under you.
When we
No
play a
more
blame
pat.
game too.
Yeah. And it goes away. Then who are you in that moment? How do you speak? That's what I'm saying. When you speak this way and you speak with God, no matter what happens in your life and you're prepared for it, you're speaking things into existence every day in the words that you use. But by the way, God can't stand pride. The
It
best thing
speaks
is to be
that in the
humble.
Bible that you
Yeah,
don't be
yeah.
prideful.
Yeah. He raises up the humble, but he definitely doesn't like pride because it is because of him you live. Because of him you got breath. Because of him you have the materials. Because of him you have a brain that functions and a body that works. And you start taking advantage of that and start claiming that is yours, then there's a conflict. I can tell you that, but that's another podcast.
I say
But
we'll tap into that
yeah,
here very,
the
very
thing,
soon.
yeah, the thing about it is how do you speak now is what you've created in your life, and how you speak moving forward is also going to predicate on what's going to happen in your life next. Now, I don't say God's a vending machine, then you're going to speak this way, and all of a sudden you're going to get all this stuff.
Oh no, no.
No, but what I'm
No.
saying is there's a way to speak in alignment that's going to bring fruit throughout your life. Some doors will shut and other doors will open, but you got to think, how do you talk to your dad? Using your words.
Mm-hmm.
You may not be able to see him, but he definitely hears you and he opens doors for you. He provides for you. And how I speak to my dad is very boldly because he loves me, but he expects me to come that way. And I know he has a plan for me. There's things out there that are waiting for me to discover, but I'm speaking them as it's already done. It's been finished. Jesus says it's been finished. I am no longer separated from my Father. The Father sees me through Jesus. And so when I speak like Jesus. It's done. These things are here. I'm in stewardship, but I'm in a relationship because we have been restored. And because of that, we have the authority of the words through Christ and through his strength.
All right. Well, we are at the top of the hour.
Boy, that went
So
quick.
it did go quickly. It really did.
Just like Mondays come around,
I
then
was gonna
Thursdays.
say, and it's gonna be another Monday before we know it too. So, let's just talk about something really quickly before we wrap up.
Hmm.
This is July. We're in the second week of July. Okay. Now we have been doing our Mindful Nuggets podcast for over a year. In fact, we're gonna turn 2 years old in about 6 months. So we've been out here, we've been talking about identity, we've been talking about the mask, we've been talking about stepping into stewardship. Now we've spoken the word and how the word is the word and why the word came to be, how it came to be. So I just want to ask everybody out there, where are you in this, seventh month of the year 2026? What are you creating?
This is a
How
great
are
question.
it is a really great question because so many people today are living in a victim mindset. They are speaking ill upon themselves. They're taking in the ill words that are being said to them. They're not stepping into their own identity and they're not being authentic.
Hmm.
So our goal here at, Mindful Nuggets is to get you connected, right? Get you connected to health, wealth, and well-being, understanding where you are. We meet you where you are, right? And we have these conversations so that you can step into who you were authentically meant to be, because that's what we do here. Where are you at? If you're seeing us out here tonight, watching us out here on YouTube, um, put it in the comments. Where have you been in 2026? You started out one way, you said you were going to do all these things. Are you making it happen? Or are you still sitting in your own words of the identity that you created in that story that you continue to tell yourself?
Was the intention at the beginning of the year to be somewhere today that hadn't arrived yet because you got busy? And then the words you spoke over yourself allowed that to happen? I mean, that's something to think. Living victoriously, we all say live victorious, it's done, it's finished, yet we speak in victimhood. We believe it in our minds, but we don't speak it from the heart. For those who believe in Christ, have a relationship, that's one of our biggest stumbling blocks. And it took me years to figure that out. I'm still working on it because the programs exist. The scripts still run. You react to situations, and those words that come out are a pre-recorded script. You're not doing it real time unless you create the interrupt. Stop, take a breath, trap the thought before you release it with your mouth. You generate the creation from what the words you speak.
Mm.
But leader of you, like I said, we're living victoriously. But when you say that, do you believe it with your heart? And now are you speaking victoriously? Because if you're not, then you're not aligning and you're not don't. I'll tell you what, even better way. When you speak victoriously, do you have an inner peace about you? Or you still have fear and anxiety that's dragging you away from that?
Great thoughts to be leaving everyone with tonight. So, again, everyone, that was your nugget for tonight. There's a lot of nuggets in here tonight. So, make sure that if you are catching this on the replay, that you rewind and go back and think about these conversations that we have had with you tonight. So, again, everyone, this is your Mindful Nuggets wrap up for
Mhm.
tonight. We hope you enjoyed what we offered out here tonight for you. Please let us know in the comments. Meet us back here because we will be back here again on Thursday
In a
where
flash.
we sponsor the 90-day devotional. So if you are ready to walk into that relationship, be in that relationship, we invite you to come back here Thursday night, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. on the East Coast. And again, before we know it, it'll be Thursday, and before we know it, it'll be Monday again. So, what have you created this year?
Mhm.
Let us know in the comments and join us next Monday night. Thank you, William, for being here with me
And thank
tonight.
you,
I
Michelle.
appreciate you.
So everybody, word.
Word.
Think about
Word.
it. Word.
We just dated ourselves, by the way.
We did.
Have a great night,
Bye.
everyone. We'll see